Mrs. Callie Lund. In 1969, John Green received a letter from Mrs. Callie Lund of Rochester, Washington. And here's the story she had to tell. It was a snowy and wet spring in 1933. The terrain was comprised of ranches along the river, farming the bottom land, but with houses and buildings on the logged-out hillsides. These were referred to as stump ranches. By 1933, some of the hillsides were now covered in second-growth timber. At this time, Mrs. Lund was attending high school in Oakville, and on the weekend she was talking about, she had just returned home from a dance in Oakville. She had gone with several other young girls. When returning home from an evening out, she always walked around the house to the back door. That night, just as she started to open the back door, she heard a very loud noise up on the hill behind the house. She was familiar with the sounds of the wildlife on the hill, the coyotes and cougars. This was a sound she had never heard before. She quickly went into the house and woke her mother, asking her to come listen. Not only was she concerned with the sound on their hill, but she had heard something answering from another hill. Her mother got out of bed and followed her daughter outside the back door. When she heard the sound, she then acted in a manner totally unlike herself. She kept telling Callie, "It's that terrible ape again." When Callie asked her to explain, she told her, "I'll tell you tomorrow, and let's get inside as we are not safe out here." The next day, this is the story Callie's mother told her. After Callie's great-grandfather had died, her great-grandmother had divided their old ranch and given each child a stump ranch. Callie's mother's portion was about 40 acres and was mostly located in the area where their house stood. The house was built very near the second-growth timber line and featured a porch that stretched across the entire length of the front of the house. A large bay window was installed so the view of the river could be enjoyed from inside. In the fall of 1913, Callie's father traveled to Aberdeen to sell the potatoes grown on the 10 acres they had cleared. This involved his staying overnight and leaving Callie's mother alone in the house. Since she was not used to being alone in the house, she was not sleeping well. She was lying awake in bed when at around 1 a.m. she heard something stomping across the front porch. She got up to go see who or what could be out there. There was only moonlight to see by, and at first, she thought the figure she saw on the porch was a large bear. As she continued to stare at the creature, she realized that this animal was standing on its back legs and was so large it was having to bend over to look in the window. Callie's mom said the creature was over 6 feet tall, and it did not look like a bear at all as she saw it more clearly in the moonlight. After a couple of minutes, the creature walked to the edge of the porch and jumped off it. As it started to walk around the house, she went into the kitchen so she could get a good look at it. She said it looked just like an ape. The thing that scared her the most was the noise it made as it walked around the house. Callie's mother waited until the sun came up and then she went to her mother's house, Callie's grandmother. She told everyone there what had happened in the early morning hours. Her brothers proceeded to make fun of her, telling her she had dreamed it all. When Callie's father returned from his trip, he also dismissed her story. The family made her feel so ridiculous that she never mentioned it again. This was the first time since it happened that Callie's mother had told anyone the story. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell.